And let's start with some international news first, where Vladimir Putin has stormed to a victory in Russia's presidential polls, giving him another 6 years in power. Vladimir Putin, who has ruled Russia for almost 2 decades, has won more than 75% of the vote according to the preliminary results. Crowds gathered in the heart of Russia's capital, Moscow, late on Sunday as the polls for the presidential election closed. A concert marking 4 years since Russia's annexation of Crimea turned into a celebration in Vladimir Putin's re-election. The crowds gathered at Manez Square largely echoed the sentiment that with Putin's policies that had elevated Russia's international standing over the course of the last 2 decades. However, Russia's Communist Party's candidate for President Pavel Grudinin has called the election as the filthiest in recent times after the incumbent Vladimir Putin easily won another 6-year term in the office. Grudinin has said that opposition leader Alexei Navalny had been right about voting irregularities and said that he would take certain decisions when the final results were in. Russia's Election Commission has said that reports of alleged violations in the presidential elections will be investigated. Russia's Election Commission's head, Pamfilova, has dismissed many of the appeals already made to the Commission as nothing more than misunderstandings and has said that others will be subject to checks and legal action. Russia's communication minister has said that attempted cyber attacks on Russia's vote counting system during its presidential election were unsuccessful. Earlier in the day, the head of the Central Election Commission, Ella Pamfilova, had said that the body's website had actually been subjected to distributed denial of service attack from IP addresses across 15 nations. The Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that Britain's claims that Russia was behind the nerve agent attack on former spy Sergei Skripal were nonsense and rubbish. Vladimir Putin has said that Russia has destroyed all its chemical weapons and it is ready to cooperate with the UL for investigations. The Syrian President Bashar al-Assad on Sunday visited the Syrian soldiers who appear close to defeating the last major opposition foothold near Damascus. The Syrian presidency footage has shown Assad greeting and cheering soldiers and then also climbing onto a tank and telling the soldiers that they were fighting in the whole world's battle against terrorists. Thousands of people have been displaced from Ghouta amid the regime's assault in the region. The residents of the eastern Ghouta town of Sakhpa returned to their homes carrying their belongings after the town was recaptured by the Syrian army. Figures close to the rebels say that talks are presently underway with the aim of them leaving the other opposition areas or giving up arms, though rebels have publicly ruled out the kind of negotiated withdrawal that has helped Assad recover Aleppo, Homs and other cities in Syria. The Turkish forces and their rebel allies have swept into the northwestern Syrian town of Afrin on Sunday, taking control of the town centre, where the Kurdish YPG forces have pulled out. The video shot by the Turkish media showed Free Syrian Army rebels opening fire into air into the centre of the town and also celebrating. But the footage also shows the Turkish soldiers raising the Turkish flag on a local government building. The Turkish forces and their Syrian rebel allies have damaged and torn down a statue that is linked to the Kurdish culture in the centre of Afrin. The statue is that of a blacksmith by name Kava, who is said to be a central figure in the Kurdish legend about the New Year celebration of Nowruz. The Syrian forces say that this was the first blatant violation of the Kurdish people's culture and history since the takeover of Afrin. The Kurdish administration of Syria's Afrin region has indicated that the Kurdish-dominated forces fighting Turkey-backed groups in the area will be shifting from direct confrontation to guerrilla tactics. In a televised statement, co-chair of the Afrin Executive Council said that the Kurdish forces were present in all of the Afrin region and will become a constant nightmare for the Turkish forces. Meanwhile, Turkey's Kurds and also the leftist groups have appealed to the world powers to press for the Turkish and the Syrian rebel forces to withdraw from Afrin and avoid a human tragedy in the northwestern part of the Syrian town. More than about 40 political parties, associations and also unions have issued the statement just hours after the Turkish army and its Syrian rebel allies swept into Afrin. The dominant Palestinian group in the Gaza Strip and Israel's arch-rival Hamas says that Israel's military was in fact marketing fake achievements to boost the morale. And the statement came hours after the Israeli army said that it had foiled a Hamas bid to rebuild the Gaza tunnel. The Israeli forces earlier had knocked out a tunnel in the Gaza Strip dug by Hamas militants to mount cross-border attacks. The Palestinian political leaders have announced the launch of the Great March of Return to call the right of the Palestinian refugees to return to their homelands. Earlier this month, the Palestinian organizers in the Gaza Strip announced preparations for protests near the Israeli border to demand the right to return of millions of Palestinian refugees across the Middle East to their lands in Israel. The South Korean foreign minister has said that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is taking stock of the US President Donald Trump's surprise decision to accept his invitation for talks on denuclearizing the Korean peninsula. Now, there has been no public North Korean response to Donald Trump in the nearly 2 weeks since he has stunned the world by agreeing to meet with Kim Jong-un personally, a diplomatic gambit with huge stakes for both the nations. The North Korean rockets can now be fitted with nuclear payloads and could actually reach Germany and Central Europe. Well, that's what a top official with Germany's Foreign Intelligence Agency has to say. The BND deputy director has told lawmakers during a closed-door meeting that the assessment was absolutely certain that North Korea did indeed have nuclear-capable missiles. The US Treasury's top economic diplomat has said that China's move away from the market liberalization was an increasing concern for world economies, as currency stability meant that exchange rate issues needed less attention in the G20 and other international forums. A US Treasury official last week had stated that the United States will try to garner support at the G20 meeting to push back the state subsidies and other economic policies. Republican senators have warned President Donald Trump not to fire special counsel Robert Mueller and have said that the president must let the federal investigators looking into the Russian meddling in the US election to do their jobs. Now, the Republican president has renewed his Twitter attacks on both the Federal Bureau of Investigation and also Mueller's probe since the firing of the Bureau's former deputy director, Andrew McCabe. The 45 US trade associations representing some of the largest companies in the country have urged President Donald Trump to not impose tariffs on China, warning that it would be particularly harmful to the US economy and to consumers. But the organizers have said in a letter sent to Trump that potential tariffs in China would raise prices on consumer goods, kill jobs and also drive down financial markets. Donald Trump is all set to host Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince in Washington on Tuesday, giving the US president a receptive audience to denounce rival Iran and also a chance to take stock of significant changes the prince is engineering in the kingdom. Now, 10 months after the last face-to-face meeting between Trump and the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Riyadh, both leaders are expected to deepen an already warm and congenial relationship between the US and Saudi Arabia. Now, the United States has warned Pakistan yet again, telling Islamabad to do more to eliminate terror in the country or else face action. Now, the statement comes after Pakistani Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi met with US Vice President Mike Pence in Washington, D.C. The US Vice President has told Abbasi that Pakistan needs to do more against the Taliban and other terror groups operating in the country warning that the Trump administration is actually ready to take unilateral measures if Islamabad fails to stop cross-border attacks from its soil. An experienced Cirque du Soleil performer died after plunging onto a stage during an aerial straps routine at a weekend show in Tampa in Florida. The incident occurred when Jan Arnaud fell during a performance of the show Volta. The 38-year-old performance artist died of his injuries at a nearby hospital. The Arnaud had performed in Cirque shows for about 15 years and was considered one of the company's most experienced entertainers. Now, a 4-alarm fire engulfed a vacant second floor of a residential building and several businesses on the ground floor beneath in San Francisco. Now, officials have said that there were no fatalities or injuries due to the fire that broke out in the North Beach neighborhood of San Francisco, but that an investigation is ongoing. The residents were seen on social media gathered on sidewalks gazing at the blaze that sent bright flames and also billows of smoke into the San Francisco skyline. At least about 15 people were displaced due to the inferno. A fire at a hotel in the Philippine capital has killed about 3 people and injured nearly 24 others. The fire broke out at the Manila Pavilion Hotel, where about 20 people earlier had listed as trapped had been evacuated safely. 2 employees of a casino at the hotel were missing and rescue operations were in fact ongoing. It was not immediately clear as to how the fire had started. The Brazilian protesters took to the streets of Rio de Janeiro to demonstrate against the execution-style murder of popular Rio de Janeiro City Council woman and outspoken critic of the police killings of 4 residents. The investigators, prosecutors and even drug gang leaders have said that the shooting of Mariel Franco appears to be a political assassination. An audio recording has revealed that Peru's embattled president, Pedro Pablo Kuczynski, told a congressional investigative committee that he used a company in the British Virgin Islands to legally avoid paying taxes. The Peruvian president made the disclosure during more than 7 hours of questioning on Friday as he tried to disentangle himself from a growing corruption scandal less than a week before a new impeachment vote in the Congress. The former Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont has said that there is the possibility that Belgian authorities could actually extradite him and that if he returns to Spain, he would go to prison. The Puigdemont has warned that his imprisonment would only worsen the situation. Puigdemont has also said that the Catalan majority was not fragile and that independence was not the only option for Catalonia. The thousands of demonstrators marched in Barcelona in support of a pro-unity regional government in Catalonia. The demonstrators were joined by former French Prime Minister Manuel Valls. Protesters also waved the Spanish and the European Union flags and chanted, "We will not be fooled. Catalonia is Spain." The thieves on scooters used sledgehammers and knives to raid a luxury watch shop on London's Regent Street. An eyewitness said that he saw around 3 people with scooters who used a large hammer to smash the glass door of the shop on a busy weekend day in central London. The police have put up a cordon around the shop and knives could actually be seen on the ground. Croatia has declared a state of emergency in its central Kosinj Valley after the Lika River flooded, cutting off the road access to about 500 people and leaving several villages without electricity. As many as 600 residents of central Croatia have been stranded by floods after heavy rains and melting snow, while several other areas are likely to be affected in the coming days. The spectators have said goodbye to Pyeongchang after attending the closing ceremony of the 2018 Winter Paralympic Games. Fireworks lit up the sky over the Olympic Stadium in Pyeongchang as the Winter Games officially finished. More than 560 athletes competed in the 80-medal Paralympic event across 6 sports: alpine skiing, biathlon, cross-country skiing, ice hockey, snowboarding and also wheelchair curling. Now, around 1,000 Dachshunds and their humans braved freezing temperatures in London for the 3rd ever sausage walk in South London's Greenwich Park. Now, the breed, which is affectionately known as sausage dog, have grown popular and have now even become canine celebrities in their midst. Now, the walk is the brainchild of the owners of the Instagram famous dogs, Mildred the sausage and also George the sausage. Alright, let's now get you some news from India, where 5 members of a family, including 3 minor children, were killed and 2 others injured as Pakistani troops resorted to unprovoked and indiscriminate shelling in over half a dozen villages near the line of control in Balakote sector in the Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. India has yet again issued a note verbale to Islamabad protesting against the intimidation and harassment of Indian diplomats in Pakistan. Now, this is the 13th such diplomatic note to Pakistan from the Indian High Commission in less than 3 months over the issue. Now, in the latest note verbale, Indian High Commissioner has mentioned 3 incidents of harassment of the Indian diplomats in Pakistan. The Congress President Rahul Gandhi has used the World Bank's biannual India Development Update report to hit out at the Modi government over the goods and services tax. Now, the report pegs the Indian GST system as amongst the most complex in the world, with not only one of the highest tax rates but also one of the largest number of tax slabs anywhere. The Union Minister Smriti Irani has countered Rahul Gandhi's Gabbar Singh tax jibe on Twitter. Irani has tweeted saying that Rahul Gandhi dismissed the World Bank report on India's rise and ease of doing business rankings, while on the other hand he has selectively chosen to highlight the World Bank's report on GST only to berate India's progress, as she has put it. The Indian National Congress Party President Rahul Gandhi has continued to train his guns on the Modi government on day 2 of the 84th annual plenary session of the Congress Party, comparing the current political situation to the epic Mahabharata. Rahul Gandhi said that the BJP are actually like the Kauravas who fought for power, while his party is like the Pandavas, standing for the truth. And taking a dig at Rahul Gandhi's remarks at the plenary session, the BJP said that it was the Congress party that questioned the fundamental existence of Lord Ram, and it now wants to be identified with the Pandavas. Now, giving a point-by-point rebuttal of the Gandhi's speech, senior BJP leader and also Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman termed his address as the rhetoric of a loser and devoid of any substance. The JNU Students' Union approached the Delhi Commission for Women seeking its intervention in the case of alleged sexual harassment of a group of women students by a professor of the University's School of Life Sciences. The Students' Union president alleges that no action has been taken by the university and the professor continues to enjoy the campus privileges. The forest officials in India's eastern Baripada city have rescued a rare flying snake from a pile of firewood. The snake was found captured in a bunch of firewood brought by woodcutters from the forest area. The locals have alerted the rescue teams after they found it coiled in the pile of firewood. On receiving the information, a rescue team reached the spot and took the snake away. Alright, let's now move on to some entertainment news, where during a public event, Bollywood actress Kangana Ranaut has revealed that she's actually a big admirer of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's success story. She's also added that when a chaiwala became our Prime Minister, it is the success of our democracy that the people of India have supported an individual like Narendra Modi. Now, Danny Boyle has said that he's working on the script for the next James Bond movie. The British director has been rumoured to be at the top of the list to direct the 25th film in the spy action franchise. He said that he's collaborating on the project with John Hodge, who wrote Boyle's Train Spotting and its 2017 sequel.